Hey, Dave Staublin here, doing some good math. In our last lesson, we talked about solving equations by adding or subtracting. And what we said was an equation is like a teeter-totter. And if you add something to one side, you add the same amount to the other side to keep it balanced. And similarly, if you subtract something from each side, then that keeps it balanced too. Well, we're going to do the same thing except with multiplying and dividing. So let me show you an example. Let's say we have 4x equals 84. What you want to do is you want to find the variable, which is here, and you want to identify the operation. In this case, it's 4 times x. And what we want to do is the opposite operation. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And then you do 84 divided by 4. In this case, I happen to be able to do it in my head, and it's 21. And you can always check your answer by taking your answer and substituting it back into the original equation. That's a very good practice to get into, even though I don't often do it myself. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's say that we have something like, let's say that we have x divided by 3 equals 6. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want to find the variable, and then we want to identify the operation that's going on. In this case, it's divided by 3. And so we want to say divide. What's the opposite operation? It's multiply. And so we are going to multiply both sides by 3. In this case, on the left, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 times x is x, and 3 times 6 is 18. And that's how we do it. Now, let me show you some different ways that this can look. What if we had 1/5 times x equals 10? How would you deal with that? Well, in a sense, we're multiplying 1/5 times x. And so you could divide both sides by 1/5. Now, this is easy. 1/5 divided by 1/5 is 1 times x is x. But what's 10 divided by 1/5? Do you remember how to multiply or divide by fractions? Well, in this case, whenever you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. And so in this case, it would be 50. Now, I think that's really hard. So let me show you a different way to do the same thing. 1/5 x equals 10. See how we have 1 divided by 5 times x? The way that you could think about this is 1 times x divided by 5. And then what do? Well, it's divided by 5, so we're going to multiply both sides by 5. 1 times x is x, and 5 times 10 is 50. That's a way that you can think about it. Or you could just think about it like this. I have 1 divided by 5. Well, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 cancels. 1 times x is x, and 5 times 10 is 50. Okay? Now, I think that will do what you need to do. And so I think we can stop here. But you know what? We're going to do one more. What if we have negative 3x equals 21? Well, what do you do with the negative? Well, we do it just like all these other problems we've done. We have negative 3 times x. The opposite of times is divide. So we divide both sides by negative 3, and x equals negative 7. And let's do this. What if we had 4x equals negative 16? Well, we have 4 times x. The opposite of times is divide. So the 4's divide to 1 times x is x, and then you do the division with the negative, and it comes out like that. Okay, so I think that finally should do it. And I'm looking at the problems, and I think if you look at page 94, let's do 7 through 15, and let's do just a couple of more. Let's do 33 to 36. All right, good job.